Hey everyone, Devin here. I am creating a grandparents' house. This is kind of based off of what I recall from my great grandparents' house in Kentucky, where we always used to go and visit. So it's a simple layout, as you can tell. It's got two beds and two baths. Whenever I build, I try to base it off of previous knowledge or base it off of a family that I want to either create in the game or that I will create later, like I did for this house. Um, if you would like, I can upload the families that I create to go with my houses as well. You don't necessarily have to play them, but I do think about the backstories. And the backstory for this one was the grandmother was a gardener in life, and so there's a lot of gardening aspects. I didn't really flourish plants outside the house. I did make the landscaping kind of nice, which you'll see later. But as far as her actually planting, I kind of wanted to leave that for gameplay, so I didn't do anything specific for the actual build in that regard. And as for the grandfather, I did make him like a professor. So it's his background story is sort of he started as a school teacher and then moved on to university level teaching. And so I create him like a small office and go from there as far as that goes. So, as you can tell here, I'm just kind of messing around with roofing. It was kind of strange. I do have a Pinterest board for all of my sim builds that I kind of base these off of, but then I kind of put my own spin on them, especially as far as interior decorating goes. But if you're like me, you're not the best at blueprints, so it is easier to kind of go off of something that you find online. As you can see, I have moved on to the interior. I tend to always start my builds with the kitchen just because the kitchen is my favorite place in the house. I love to cook, so it's really easy for me to decorate kitchens and kind of get that feel of like how I want the house to look based on the interior. So, the grandmother, of course, like all grandmothers, loves to cook. If they're anything like my grandma or your grandma, I'm sure. So, I am trying so hard. These curtains, I love these curtains from Parenthood, but I always like to size them down because I feel like they're way too big. And I love putting them in the kitchen because I'm like a half curtain in the kitchen is always really nice. But yeah, so moving on, decorating the kitchen, I did go very simple. I went with these like light brown appliances because I wanted it to feel like they had been here for a really long time. Just in that I wanted it to feel like maybe this was their first or second house and it's where they started their family and where they decided to stay. So, just a few of the things that I like to think about when doing a build and creating a family. So, here I remember, oh god, okay, this thing did not want to work for me. I wanted to place it right next to the coffee pot, but it just would not work. So you will definitely have to have move objects on for this build because that coffee pot, I tried to like replace the build and like all of the appliances went haywire and went into the inventory. So yeah, just be sure to have bb.move objects on when you place this build so that all of that still works and it's okay. I did play test it, so they do still operate. Your Sims can still use them. You don't have to worry about that. So here, trying to decide what color I want to do, and I have honestly never used this wallpaper in a build, but I loved it for the feel of the house. Um, just because, I mean, it's brown. I hate using neutral tones because every apartment that I have ever lived in always has like ugly taupe walls, and it is, I hate it. I hate the color brown because of that. And it's an apartment, so you can't color it yourself, and I hate it. But I do love a good open concept, so I did decide not to put like a regular archway from the living room to the dining room. I wanted to create one with the columns and everything. So as you can see there, I did just do that. I think it makes it a little bit nicer just to have that open. It's a very simple dining room. Had to add some windows because I clearly forgot. But yeah, so trying to find some colors. I did want to keep that kind of blue like I had in the kitchen, but I think I just decided to go with shades of blue in the house. Like maybe it was the husband's favorite color, because I did make the grandmother's favorite color yellow. You'll see that later in the bathroom. um, but yeah, so she is a gardener, so I did want to keep it bright and kind of airy. And as you can see, I do go a little haywire on plants inside the house. I think I put a plant on every surface. Maybe not the bathrooms, but I think I did put a plant at least in every room. But just creating some clutter here and there to just kind of fill it out and make it, I don't know, nice and pleasant, again, like they'd been living here for a good while. So as you can see here, I did add a little cat statue, and I was thinking, like, they have a cat. I did add a pet food bowl in the kitchen, so I wanted that. But after I added that cat statue, I was like, oh, okay, I'm gonna add a bunch of cat stuff now and make her a crazy cat lady, gardener, whatever. I decided not to go too ballistic on it, but I did add a few cat paraphernalia things. Um, there is a litter box that I had to remind myself to add, because I always forget litter boxes for cats, because I personally play with dogs because I have a dog, and so it's easy for me to think about. And they don't need a litter box. You have to let them out to go to the bathroom or walk them. So I did have to remind myself when I added the cat stuff. I think I literally wrote it down on the desk, like add litter box. So here, decorating the entryway, I usually do a more open entryway, but it did just kind of work out with this build that it was a little more closed off. But I did like it. It was small and simple, but I just thought, why not decorate it nicely? And I think I actually moved that flower painting into the living room here in a minute, but yeah, just going from there. I wanted pillows because of that stereotypical, like, when a woman gets older, there's always pillows in the house and on the couch. And I think there's like an insurance commercial now that goes through that. And I love those commercials so much. But yeah, cluttering it up again with books and everything for the grandfather. And I think I add some knitting things around the house because I think at the time I just got nifty knitting pack, and so I wanted to use some of that because grandmas like to knit, I guess. My grandma never knitted, but I guess. So going from here, again, trying to pick out a rug. I literally have the hardest times with rugs if I don't know exactly what I'm looking for. I wanted something floral but light because, again, I did add a lot of blues and yellows. So trying to add some other colors in as well. But yeah, oh, yeah, there's some of the nifty knitting stuff. And more flowers. Oh, yeah, there I moved the painting, and I am replenishing it with others. I do tend to use this specific kind of, I don't know, where I resize those paintings down, but with those specifically, because I love them and they come in 4 different swatches, so they're really easy to like size down and make into a pretty design on the wall and make it look a little bit more, I don't know, full as opposed to just putting one painting. So I do that a lot. And here you will see is just a little trick to fill in all of the spaces for if you are wanting to, I don't know, whenever you're trying to place things on there and you have move objects on or what have you, it's easier to fill in all of those spaces. And I have found that the bowling pins work really well for that because they are the smallest item. And so it will fill all of those holes. And then you can just kind of place the objects around them and delete them afterwards. Just make sure not to delete all of the objects because I have done that plenty of times. Here I wanted to add some cards like they came from their grandkids and maybe some grandkids art as well. So you'll see that on top of the fireplace. I think I do that in the second bedroom as well. So I did want to add them in and have a small laundry room. And it is small. I usually don't do anything that small. I usually do like a 3x3 like I do the bathrooms. But it just so happened to fit kind of well. There's the litter box. It did happen to fit really well in here, and so I went with it. But yeah, just a simple, not too much clutter for the laundry room. And then this back room is the master bedroom. So I wanted to do that bed. I love this bed because it just looks so homey and I love quilts. It's always been a thing in my family where we have quilts like in every room, hanging in the hallways, and I love them. I think they're the coziest items that you can have in a house, and they're so easy to fall asleep under, and it's just wonderful. Again, more cat paraphernalia. um, but yeah, just cluttering up the bedroom. Again, making it feel lived in, but I think that bed and the wallpaper, honestly, I love this wallpaper because it has that paneling at the bottom. But yeah, when I got that with cats and dogs, I fell in love with it instantly, and I do use it a lot in like city builds. So anything like a museum or something along those lines, I think that this is perfect for that because it's elegant, but it's also just cozy and it's nice. Readjusting the windows because these curtains from cats and dogs give you issues. If the windows are too high, it kind of looks strange from like just having those windows on the top. So I do go around and move all of those windows to be the same level in the house. But yeah, pretty much done with the parents' bedroom, and then moving on to the bathrooms. Oh, I forgot about this. I did want to add that rooster poster or rooster painting because I never use it unless I'm building a museum. And so I did want to use it in here, and sort of ironically and unironically as well. So again, the grandma's favorite color is yellow, and I wanted to use that Parenthood bathtub because it had flowers and yellow, and it was too perfect not to use. So I did put that in there, and just a little bit of clutter. I didn't add too much bathroom clutter, just enough to make it feel lived in. But everything's bright and airy. I didn't add any curtains into either of the bathrooms, which is strange for me because I usually do, but I figured they were fine with it. I don't know. Maybe I just didn't think about it. So as you can see, most of the things in this bathroom are pink, and my thought process with that was that it used to be blue, which is why I had the blue accents in there. But so they had a sun and most things were blue, but she was transitioning it to pink because that's what she wanted in her house. Just a simple bathroom for that second room. But moving on to the last room of the house. This room, I did want to have a bed in, even though it's just the two grandparents living here. But I wanted it to feel like it was still their son's childhood home, but turned into an office for the dad. Because again, he is a teacher and a professor at a university. So I wanted it to feel like a remade room, but, you know, if family came to visit or anything along those lines, I wanted it to feel like they could still stay there and have the kids over, but still having that kind of like childhood charm of their son's room. And so I did add some like kids' room clutter, like a teddy bear maybe he got for Christmas as a kid or something along those lines. So I did clutter it up just a little bit, but mostly it would just be used as an office. But as you can see, now we are moving to the exterior of the house. So that little roof part there, I wanted it to be like a sunlight into the kitchen area so that it was bright and they had that. Um, but moving on to landscaping and sort of finalizing all of the roofing that I totally forgot to do before I moved inside to the house because I was kind of everywhere with this, just ideas kind of flowing situation, but not too much. And then going on to decorate the outside. I think I do add some gardening stuff again, like a flower arranging table, but with the Nifty Knitting Pack, we got those rocking chairs, and honestly, those rocking chairs are what inspired me to do this entire build, because it's a grandparent's house, why would you not have rocking chairs? But again, just going kind of simple. I did have to move it over because I wanted to do a kind of larger fenced in backyard, which you'll see later on. But I did use, as far as landscaping, I did use just plants that I saw around the area, like that tree in the backyard. You can see behind there, yep, right there, there's a little picnic area, which I thought was so perfect because they can have the kids over and they can all play baseball or throw softball, whatever, and play in the backyard and then go have a picnic. I find it absolutely perfect. So I did not add in the build that you see right now, I did not add a gate to the fence, but I do after. So once you see it in the gallery, it will have that fence. So don't worry about that. I did add it later. Finishing the chimney and removing that down so that it's nice and even. But yeah, pretty much that's all for the landscaping. I think I add a tree in the front yard, but now I'm just decorating the yard so that or the front porch, so that again, you have those rocking chairs, which I just find too perfect for words. Get some outside lighting. And yeah, it's just simple. It's in my mind a little elegant, but I absolutely love it. And those bird feeders and the wind chimes, again, it's just something that reminded me of my family and my grandparents, great grandparents, just things that they would have around their house. And I did realize that I built the fence here before moving the foundation up. So I had to redo the fence, and I hate that you can't just delete the parts that are attached to the house. You have to delete the whole fence because an error shows up when you try to put the fence down and reconnect it to the house. So it is easier to just kind of remove all of that. But right now, just adding some mulch basically to, again, make it look more lived in. I do generally add that around the entire house, even if there's not landscaping. And I like adding it on the fence just because it makes it look lived in. I know a lot of people don't do that, but I prefer it just because it's simple. It's a simple way to make the house look more like a house in my eyes and not just like I built this thing and here it is, which is what I used to do in Sims 3. Oh my god, I've come a long way. But we are coming towards the end of the build here. That object, you can't see it when the walls are down, or like when the roof is down, but it is still there, so you'll only see it when the roof is up. But I placed this table and chairs back here and add a pathway, and that is pretty much it. And on to the screenshots. Thanks for watching.